أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So, inshallah, we are starting Surah Al-Qariah. This is 101st Surah in Musaf order, and roughly speaking, 30th Surah in Revelation order. So here is the surah in its entirety. It's one of, again, short surahs in the initial period of revelation. It's a Meccan surah. And as in many of the initially revealed surahs, it is talking about afterlife in a sense. It's talking about responsibilities, consequences. So let's read it together once. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Al-Qariah, mal-Qariah, wa ma adraka mal-Qariah. The calamity, the Qariah. What is the calamity? What will explain to you what the calamity is? يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث. A day wherein mankind or humans will be as scattered moth. وتكون الجبال كالإحن المنفوش, and the mountains will become as carded wool or thrown away wool. فأما من ثقلت موازينه فهو في عيشة راضية. Then, as for him whose scales are heavy, he will live a pleasant life. وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَفَّتْ مَوَازِينُهُ فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ. But as for him whose scales are light, the bottomless pit will be his refuge. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا هِيَ نَارٌ حَامِيَةٌ. What will explain to you what that is? Raging fire. It is a raging fire. So that is surah in a single slide. Inshallah, we will start going through it. In the early revelation, in the initial revelation, we see a lot of examples of, as it is being in here, that mentions consequences and in general akhirah, afterlife. So if we think about the Meccan society, early Meccan society, those were the people who don't believe in afterlife. Like they didn't believe in afterlife. We die and we are done. This was the idea. Unlike our society. Unlike our society. So this is why near mentioning oneness of the Creator, the earlier revelation talks about akhirah quite a bit. So although I said because of this, but this is still the case, like afterlife is so central, so important for humans' existence on earth. So even today, I am in need of this constant reminder. But also, as Brother Birkan was saying, our society is no different. So we live, we die, and that's it. That's going to be the end of it. In the light of that, of course, one can think about how would you be a good people in such an environment? I mean, although not totally relevant to this discussion that's being mentioned in the surah, but today I was talking to a friend since further rockets are fired today. So he was saying that why human beings cannot be just good? Why do you need God for that? Like, you just be good with people, that's it. You don't need afterlife or anything. Just if you want to be treated nice, treat others nice. That's it. That's the end of the story. So, but practically, how does this work? Is it really possible? Why is Quran repetitively mentioning this, being held accountable? And I would like to read the surah again in two ways. Because whatever is being mentioned in the Quran, and as also it is the case in this surah, it's going to use a lot of figurative speech. But that figurative speech is to tell me about something which I do not have access to, but speaking to me in a way that I can relate to. Like it's going to talk about mountains. It's talking about moth, like dispersed moth. So clearly, as the verse is already highlighting, humans are going to be like farash al-mabthuth, like the moths that are dispersed. So this doesn't mean that human beings are going to be in this shape, like visual shape. Of course, it's explaining a phenomena, or it's talking about that day in which mountains are going to be like thrown wool. Like, do I expect to see a day where the mountains are going to be thrown like this or like this? So definitely it's trying to explain me a point which I can relate to by using my senses. And these are the imagery that's being depicted in there. So I can relate to this here and now, but it's also referring to something that is to come, because eventually I am dying anyways. So it's also saying that you're going to be held accountable. So let's get into that. When the surah starts by saying, Al-Qariah, Mal-Qariah, wa ma adraka Mal-Qariah. So the word Qariah, although it's translated as calamity, so there was a bit of an explanation what Qariah is. So they say linguistically Qariah means striking something. Like for knocking the door, it's the word that's used is also Qariah. So striking something, striking strongly something. So as if it's saying that Al-Qariah, so like the thing that strikes. Mal-Qariah, so what is that's going to strike? وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الْقَارِيَةُ. Oh, how are you going to know, or what's going to inform you about that? So this 3 verses, all of them are focusing on a single word, qariya, repetitively. It could have been Al-Qariah ma hiya, wa ma adraka ma hiya. Like this could have been a language saying that Al-Qariah, the strike, what is it? Do you know what is it? But it didn't say it by referring to it with an adjective, but it kept repeating the word. So what's the point in here? Why is there this repetition? And what is the benefit of this rhetorical device of repetitively mentioning the same word and even saying that, what is it? Like, how are you going to know about it? Who is going to tell you about what it is? As if indicating that no way you will know what that is by your own devices. So let me tell you what it's going to be like. As if Quran is first attracting my attention, saying that there's going to be as if a strike, or somebody will come and knock your door, and by repeating the word itself, as if reflecting that knock in my head multiple times to attract my attention to there, and says, do you know what that is? It's coming. But this repetitive behavior, this use of language in here is saying that something that's big, that's going to be a huge news, a strike is up and coming. Yeah.
Maybe it's also alluding to the idea that the strike is not a singular strike, but it may be a succession of strikes.
Yeah, multiple strikes that are happening one after the other, and by as if like knocking the door as well. So it's going to happen again and again. So this word qariya is also being used in other places in Quran, but this one is from Surah Al-Haqqah, which is quite parallel to Surah Al-Qariah as we are reading now. I'm not going to get into verse by verse analysis of Surah Al-Haqqah, but by itself, even the style or the verses speak a lot. So let's read Surah Al-Haqqah. Al-Haqqah, Mal-Haqqah, wa ma adraka Mal-Haqqah. Starting is the same structure, the truth, the reality. What is the reality? And what will explain to you what the reality is? In this case, the same rhetorical device is used. كذبت ثمود وعاد بالقارعة. Thamud and Ad tribes, these are the two tribes that Quran tells their story to us quite a bit, disbelieved in the Qariah. They denied that it's going to come. Okay, let's leave it as Qariah for now. فَأَمَّا ثَمُودْ فَأُهْلِكُوا بِالطَّاغِيَةِ. As for Thamud, they were destroyed by the lightning. وَأَمَّا عَادٌ فَأُهْلِكُوا بِرِيحٍ صَرْصَرٍ عَاتِيَةٍ. And as for Ad, they were destroyed by a fierce roaring wind. سخرها عليهم 7 ليال و8 أيام حسوما فترى القوم فيها سرعى كأنه أعجاز نخل خاوية. It continues for the Ad, which he imposed on them for 7 long nights and 8 long days, so that you might have seen men lying overthrown as they were hollow trunks of palm trees. فَهَلْ تَرَى لَهُم مِّن بَاقِيَةٍ. Can you see any remnant of them? So probably another reason that Qariah is being mentioned in terms of calamity is these verses, which right after mentioning what Qariah is, or people who denied Qariah, what they were faced with. One of them were destroyed with the lightning, the other one with the wind. So, but that was something that they were denying, that they were saying that it's not going to come. They're not going to be held accountable. So they did wrong. Ad and Thamud is being mentioned. They were invited. And as Surah Al-Haqq will keep explaining more, their prophet invited them and they rejected the prophet's message, saying that, no God, not your message. You're just trying to deceive us. As a consequence of this, they were faced with a strike, with a sound. So, يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث وتكون الجبال كالإحن المنفوش. Now, it will start describing this, what that strike is going to sound like. After giving a little bit of description for these verses, I will ask back to you, what is Qariah? What does the sound look like in your personal life? And then if this description makes sense to you, I'll just put a few of the description of those words, and inshallah, I will leave it back to you. So Al-Qariah is now being mentioned as it's a day. It's going to come, but it's going to be a day. What sort of a day it is? It's going to be a day in which humans are going to be like كالفراش المبثوث. So they're going to be like scattered moth. My question here is going to be, why scattered and why moth? Like, what sort of an imagery is this? How is this relevant to sort of a strike? Because we should be expecting this. This is what we are understanding from Surah Al-Haqq, because they denied this strike is about to come. But so the expectation is I should be expecting such a thing to come. And it's even further describing what it's going to look like. It is saying that it's a day in which people are going to be like scattered moths. And follow-up question, what is the resemblance with scattered moths and humans? What does this even mean? And just to give you an impression about what moths look like when not scattered. Like, they are now surrounding a common thing in this image. But the verse is talking about moth, which is normally attracted to light, is getting dispersed. So what sort of a day is it in which humans are going to get dispersed? This is the first part. Let me also talk about the second part, and then we keep discussing about it. And the second part, yes. Okay.
I just realized something. It's talking about this wind, fierce roaring wind destroying them, and then we just had, this what is it called? The Helen hurricane, yeah. Hurricane happened here. One of the most advanced country, most richest country, and so on and so forth, being hit with a hurricane, as simple as hurricane, and the life is gone. Nothing they can do. Just imagine a bigger scale hurricane. Like, you don't need, when we talk about this, the story of destruction and so on and so forth, usually we think of this extraordinary, unimaginable things and so on. But it is as simple as wind. And after all these thousands of years, the wind still destroys you.
And even if you would like to avoid the winds and make houses in the, what is it, mountain, caves, still you're going to be destroyed in there, this time with a sound, with a lightning, something else. And then for the other one, it's وَتَكُونَ الْجِبَالُ كَالْإِحْنِ الْمَنْفُوشِ, and the mountains will become as carded wool. I didn't know what carded wool means, so Googled it, and it looks like this is what carded wool means. So once you get the wool from animal, in order to make string from it, you put it into a machine like this so that it just gets into its components, so that you can line them up to make a string. I guess this is the idea.
Maybe it's sparser and
fluffy.
Yeah,
maybe fluffy. In contrast, apparently this is what a mountain looks like per Google.
You didn't know what a mountain was.
That I know. So, and it is saying that it's a day in which وَتَكُونَ الْجِبَالِ, the mountains will become like carded wool, like thrown or fluffy wool. So this is the description of a Qariah, something that's going to strike, or a calamity, or a news, however you would like to take it, or somebody fiercely knocking your door. It's a day in which humans are going to be like dispersed moth, and mountains are going to, like, this thing will become like this thing over here. So what does this signify? What does this remind you of? What sort of a day is that? Hiroshima. Good. Yes.
To start, when I thought of moths, I thought of these, like, night dwellers, which I think that also in the symbolism could be, in the dark. Humans in the dark, in the poetic sense, when you don't have a north, you don't have a light to a purpose. And scattered is, I think, again, I was thinking of the image, you don't have a light, a purpose, and therefore you're just like not together. No one's like together as brothers, right? Like that's where I'm thinking. Like everyone's trying to make their own in the dark without going anywhere.
Okay. Good. Good.
I guess looking at this picture specifically, it kind of looks like the moths are doing a walk around the light, and it kind of reminded me of what we were talking about in Surah Al-Qariah, and how like we are constantly like we have in ourselves our Gava, which is our heart, but like what are we actually like doing, like the walk around? I guess maybe like in our lives, similar to the moths, we see these like maybe different sources of like light that we think, like that we think we need to rely on. For example, I need to work and make money and have a good life. And that becomes my light. But when I'm faced with a day, maybe I suddenly get fired from my job or something like that, then perhaps on that day, like, oh, this light has gone out and now everything has just become scattered. Like, I don't know what to do. I guess it's kind of like a moment of panic, maybe. In a sense.
Because moth is around or geared towards light. But if we were to turn this light off, where would the moth go? They will get dispersed aimlessly. Because if you see light somewhere, okay, you go in that direction. The moment light is turned off, then you lost everything. Aimlessly, you're going to start getting dispersed. So it's going to be a day in which humans are going to be like dispersed moth. Looks like in our life, we feel like we have somewhat of a light which we aim for. But it's a day in which the switch is going to be turned off. You thought maybe it was, I don't know, forming a family, having kids, or making the kids graduate, or making the kids get married, or you getting a certain degree or a position, buying a house, buying a car, finishing your car's loans, whatever it is.
House loan as well.
House loan, yeah. So either you achieve it, or before achieving it, life ends, or something happens, but you realize, or you are diagnosed with cancer. Like you had this life in goal or light in your life, and you were just turning around it. Your life was turning around it. And then some news comes, the switch is turned off. This is the moment in which you hear somebody fiercely knocking your door. Because I was living without knowing or without thinking that, is this the light to turn around? Because everybody's turning around a certain light in their lives. But if this is a light, and as we will talk about the following verses, because for certain people, when it happens, they're going to be in good living. Even when the light is turned, it looks like they're going to have some sort of a light. In my life, when this, what do they say, the hopes being shattered, is there a word for that? Disappointment. Your dreams are just shattering. You don't find any purpose, because light in this case is a purpose, and my life is turning around it. But now it's being shut off so that we get dispersed. It's such a moment in life. And how about this? What does the imagery of mountains being like carded wool indicate? In my life, what does it refer to? If scattered moth means losing the light, losing the purpose, which day is the day in my life where mountains are being thrown away like cotton?
What is that, a future event?
I don't know. Have you ever experienced such a thing? The mountains are being thrown like cotton. Have you felt like what you consider to be a mountain?
I guess like when I could think of, when you lose your purpose, when you lose that thing you were aiming for, whether it's physical or you just like gave up on it. You could actually physically lose it, or just like your intention. You could lose your intention, and therefore.
Okay, something that was like mountain-like for you, you're realizing that as if somebody's throwing it away like cotton. Yes.
I guess I was gonna say something similar, like maybe I thought that purpose is something like stable that like I could rely on. So it's like a mountain, it's not going to go anywhere, essentially. But then, one day, something happens and I see that like, actually, this wasn't a stable thing at all. It just crumbles away.
Your father, your uncle, your mom, or your boss, your supervisor, and you think he will do everything for you. He will open all the gates in front of you. And then you realize it's just nothing but another.
Something as solid as mountain is becoming like something as fluffy. So many things that I thought would open doors to me in my life, I feel like no, it's not helping at all. It's so flimsy, so light, so useless at this moment. Right? Sure. So this is a day. Chat, there's a comment. Okay. I think losing a person close to you, Ahmed says, I think losing a person close to you or seeing a death in your family can have that impact. It is really eye-opening seeing an actual life end. Hearing it is one thing, but witnessing it is something completely different. Personally, I think the death of my grandfather had that sort of an impact, said Ahmed. Yes. So somebody who is so strong of a figure in the family or somebody that you rely on, you realize that. And in this case, maybe Ahmed was in good terms with his grandfather. Maybe his grandfather was a super religious guy. So it doesn't necessarily need to be like my boss who is an atheist or this or that, like that sort of a thing. Even if somebody who is so nice and kind and a pious person, still me relying on that person, I realize that a day comes in which he is like carded wool. So when this day comes, any comments so far? Oh, الناس and الجبال. So in here, we are being mentioned about these two. It's just interesting. I don't know if you would like to make any comment about that. But the surah in here is bringing human like moth as one metaphor to me, and then mountains like wool to me. So I don't know if there's anything that comes to your mind. Why is specifically picking up on these two as the imagery of that day?
I guess it evokes a sense of humbling. We think we're better than animals and insects and that type of stuff. And mountains are, amazing creations, yeah. But instead it's saying all of that will be humbled. Your perception will change.
That's very true. So human being, this conscious human being who thinks that he can manage doing things is going to be dispersed aimlessly like moth, like an animal. And the most solid material, since especially in this age, we are relying on our material strength. I have atomic bombs, I have this and that. So strength is whatever material strength you will have is going to be such flimsy, fluffy, and not useful for you. A day in which, so this is the day. Now, in the light of this, what does this Qariah sound like to you? Like if we go back to Al-Qariah, Al-Qariah, وَمَا أَدْرَاكِ مَا الْقَارِيَةُ. So it looks like وَمَا أَدْرَاكِ مَا الْقَارِيَةُ, right after وَمَا أَدْرَاكِ مَا الْقَارِيَةُ, what's going to tell you about, what's going to inform you about this Qariah, this strike, is these things. So in my life, can we give a few practical examples? Like one of them was being fired from your work, maybe, yeah. That you are losing and then it's being eye-opening. For Ahmed, it was death of a family member, a close person, who is reminding you of this wake-up call I guess, ultimate death of a person is definitely that. Because now it is the news that you thought you will never die. You thought, like, when going to bed, I don't know how many of us are saying that maybe I won't be able to wake up tomorrow. I don't.
Don't need to go to work.
You have to go to work. So what do I need to do tomorrow? So, okay, not that. Okay, for me, it's the other way around. So, oh, I need to do this tomorrow. So I'm just going to bed with the list of to-dos for tomorrow. So it's not like, let us see, let us worry about them if I wake up. Otherwise, why ruin my sleep? It's not being the attitude, unfortunately. So again, Surah Al-Haqqa is so parallel to Surah Al-Qariah, and in the revelation order, Surah Al-Haqqa comes quite late, at least in the orders that I looked at. I started picking up from ayah number 13. وَإِذَا نُفِخَ فِي الصُّورِ نَفْخَةٌ وَاحِدَةٌ, and when the trumpet shall sound one blast. وحملت الأرض والجبال فدكتا دكة واحدة, and the earth with the mountains shall be lifted up and crushed with one crash. Similar to the imagery of mountains in the previous verse. Again, here it is. فَيَوْمَئِذٍ وَقَعَتِ الْوَاقِعَةُ, then on that day will the event befall. So again, calling it as a day, يوم. وَانشَقَّتِ السَّمَاءُ فَهِيَ يَوْمَئِذٍ وَاهِيَةٌ, and the heaven will split asunder, for that day it will be frail. وَالْمَلَكُ عَلَى أَرْجَائِهَا وَيَحْمِلُ عَرْشَ رَبِّكَ فَوْقَهُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ ثَمَانِيَةٌ, and the angels will be on the sides thereof. The eight will uphold the throne of your Lord that day above them. يَوْمَئِذٍ تُعْرَضُونَ لَا تَخْفَى مِنْكُمْ خَافِيَةٌ, on that day you will be exposed, not a secret of you will be hidden. Now things are starting to get interesting. So it's a day, so the description of day continues, although we are referring to Surah Al-Haqqa, it's talking about the same day. But in this day, no secrets are going to be hidden. What sort of a day is that? Like when this happens, when a family leader dies, when you get fired from job and whatnot, what happens to the secrets? What secret is this talking about? Low battery. And we will give a break for Maghrib right after this before continuing further. What does it mean that no secrets are going to be left? From whom am I hiding something?
Everyone.
From everyone? But when Ahmed's grandfather died, which secrets of him was revealed to everybody?
He's not immortal.
He is immortal.
He's not.
Who is? Ahmed is not
His
immortal?
dad- His grandfather.
Oh, his grandfather is not immortal. Okay, so by grandfather's death, but it was a day for Ahmed, not for grandfather. Okay, I mean, it was a day for grandfather too, but grandfather's death is such a day for Ahmed. So how is this day exposing secrets of Ahmed? What sort of an exposition happened? To whom did it happen?
The secret that, I don't know, we're not aware or conscious of, death. You don't think about it, you're hiding it, maybe.
Okay. So I'm living a life as if I'm not going to die. And with the news of this death, this secret of mine is being exposed to myself. I am trying to hide it from myself, in a sense. I am trying to hide the truth. that I will die, or I'm trying to hide the truth that my, I don't know, income is going to save me. This is my personal like secret lie that I'm trying to pretend as if it's the truth. It's my wrong choice to take my income as source of my stability. But when the day comes, something happens with my job or whatever, that secret that I wanted to hide is now being thrown into my face. That wrong choice of mine, you thought it was, so it was my sin in a sense, and now this sin is being thrown into my face. Okay, let your income come and save you. My grandfather was someone that I rely on. With his death, then I realize what I have been covering up, what I have been hiding. Okay, if your grandfather is the one, the protective person, or the mountain-like people in your life, okay, he couldn't even save himself. Like, he passed away. How is he going to save you if he cannot help himself in the first place? I didn't want to think about this. I kept hiding it. Although this was, I mean, of course, Ahmed, if we ask Ahmed, have you ever thought that your grandfather is going to be eternal? He would say, of course not. But we never wanted to think about it. We never wanted to get the discomforts of this, because that would have required me to turn my face towards somebody else. Look for a source which is going to provide me and sustain me. So I wanted to hide this from myself, saying that don't think about it, live the life as if grandfather is going to be good and will always be there for you. Any comments? No? Yes.
When we were praying, we prayed together, and then we scattered.
Well,
So that reminded me, like, going back to the ayah, that yes, it has one connotation in which, you know, everything being destroyed and so on and so forth, people are scattered because they're so scared. But at the same time, maybe this is even more frequent in our lives, which is we study together, yes, as a humanity, we take lessons from each other. I look at your life, I benefit from it, and so on. We share things, but there are moments that I have to go to like by myself. There are some experiences that are tailored for me, and I have to experience myself. Somebody dies in my family, for instance, and I have to go through this the training. Not with you. You cannot help me now. I have such moments in my life that shocks me, and only me, not you maybe. And like when I look at the other eyes, you don't have to. I'm just using a reference for my mind.
Okay.
That at such moments, I start questioning myself. I start weighing myself, whether my, what I bring with me to that moment is heavy or light, and so on. So it's also can be taken as again a scattered training of people.
So at this moment of me being fiercely, my door being knocked, people being scattered like moths, because now the light that I turned off. That's a realization by turning off the light. And then the things that I rely on, that I thought so strong, I realized that they are so fluffy. At this moment, then as for him, at this moment, for those whose scales are heavy, فهو في عيشة راضية. He will have a pleasant life. So it's talking about mawazin, scales. Which scales is this referring to?
Good deeds.
Good deeds. What are good deeds? Because there's going to be so scale of good deeds. So it being heavy means you have a lot of good deeds. It being light means you don't have as many good deeds. So do you have a good deed scale now?
Yeah. I'm not counting.
You're not counting.
You have your phone.
So you're when are you going to count it? Like
I
that.
just try to give it positive or negative.
Okay, you're just looking because this is what matters, right? If it is
I
heavier.
just need to, get past the break even.
Okay.
That's all.
So but still that requires some sort of counting.
But yeah,
At
it's
least
not a precise,
Oh, yeah.
precise.
for every bad you just cross over some good. So you're just knocking off, not counting them, but just trying to keep it a little bit imbalanced to the good side. Right. So that scaling is this verse is reminding me of being held accountable. But I am given this scale within already, like the feeling of guilt that's there, which is not healthy, as your boss would say. The feeling of guilt is not healthy. But you are hardwired with it, that you are having this calculation of what did I do? Because I would like to live as if there is no accountability at the end. But when the thing happens, when my door is knocked, this would be the moment that now, as if it's going to shout over my face. I was escaping from that moment, but there it is. It caught me. Again, I'm going to pull up Surah Al-Haqqah. In there, the example is being very nicely depicted when it comes to this scale. So let me very quickly go there and come back. So this is right after the verse which was talking about blowing the horn in Surah Al-Haqqah. Now it says, فَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ. In this case, to whom their book is given from their right. فَيَقُولُ هَاؤُمُ اقْرَءُوا كِتَابِيَهْ. Then as for him who is given his record in his right hand, he will say, take, read my book. Like he is confidently saying that, take, read my book. إِنِّي ظَنَنْتُ أَنِّي مُلَاقٍ حِسَابِيَهْ. Indeed, I knew that I should have to meet my reckoning. I was expecting this holding accountable. So this person is ready. فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ. The same verse. He is in a comfortable life. فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ. The comfort seems to be the comfort of giving this answer. I was already living a life in which I knew that I'm going to be held accountable. So every moment of my life, I made this scaling, and then the moment it comes, the moment that I realize that mountains are as light as wool, I said, oh, I already knew that this was going to come. The moment that people get dispersed, oh, I already lived a life in which I was putting or making my choices as such. في جنة عالية. Now it's further describing what this description looks like for عيشة راضية, like the blissful state. Or actually, I needed to put some more words on that in the previous slide. Let me go back there. I'll come back to here. So maybe I can talk about it in here as well. عيشة راضية is like Aish is life. Radiyah is there you are satisfied and content. So you're going to be living a content life. This is what it is saying. So I am being held accountable, and I was already in expectation of being held accountable. So then their life is going to be satisfied. What is the satisfaction? في جنة عالية, in a high garden. قطوفها دانية, whereof the clusters are in easy reach. كلوا واشربوا هنيئا بما أسلفتم في الأيام الخالية. Very interesting. Eat and drink at ease for that which you sent on before you in past. Like you did something good, as a consequence of these good things, you are living this blissful state. Like your right choices, your correct choices are coming back to you for this comfort. وَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِشِمَالِهِ, as for those, their record is given from their left hand. فَيَقُولُ يَا لَيْتَنِي لَمْ أُوتَ كِتَابِيَ. Oh, would that I had not been given my book. If only I didn't receive this book. This is going to be the state of the other guy. وَلَمْ أَدْرِ مَا حِسَابِيَ, and knew not what my reckoning is. If only I didn't see this holding accountable part. وَلَمْ أَدْرِ مَا حِسَابِيَ, if only I didn't know about my reckoning. يَا لَيْتَهَا كَانَتِ الْقَاضِيَةِ. This is also a very interesting verse. Oh, would that it had been death. If only death was the end. If only I was nothing. So يَا لَيْتَ كَانَتِ الْقَاضِيَةِ means if only that was it. It wouldn't be more. I wouldn't be seeing this. I would be non-existent. مَا أَغْنَى عَنِّي مَالِيَهْ هَلَكَ عَنِّي سُلْطَانِيَهْ. My wealth has not helped me, availed me. My power has gone from me. This is going to be the state of the person whose scale is light. So coming back to here. So this mawazin, this mizan is happening, this scale is happening. فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ, for the one whose scale is heavy, he is going to be فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ, he will be in a state of contentment. وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَفَّتْ مَوَازِينُهُ, but as for him whose scales are light, فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ, which is a very interesting verbiage. The bottomless pit will be his refuge. So let's see these in detail a little bit. So mawazin, so it's talking about multiple scales. It's not talking about a single scale, but it's saying that you're going to have those scales and whose scales are going to be light. So you will start making this pluses and minuses. Oh, I did this to Birkan. Oh, I did this to Atik as well. So in my life, then I am judging how did I do with Birkan, how did I do with Atik and whatnot. So all these are now being put into scales. And then there's thaqulat khiffat, heavy versus light. And as Atik was saying that it's good deeds, but what's a good deed? Is it like feeding the poor? What does feeding the poor mean? We talked about this a lot in the previous discussions. So how did I consider feeding the poor? Did I consider it as my own goodwill, or did I consider it as my creator is feeding the poor? And I am being a witness to that. So because the act itself is not good or bad per se. My attitude towards the act, how did I choose this act, is what matters really. So this heaviness versus lightness is depending on my choices. Aishatul Radiyah is a pleasant, satisfied life. What is a pleasant life? How is this related to the scale? How can I confirm this message here? And what do you think? Yeah.
So if you don't mind going to so I was trying to understand the different, and I will try that to I'm trying to understand the difference between two states in English. It sounds as if, you know, somebody on one side there are people who are given books, and he said, like, they like what is inside the book, and they say, oh, I'm glad that I see my book. And the other side, they don't like what is inside the book, and they say, oh, I wish I didn't see it. It sounds like that, but like when we look at the ayahs, it's almost saying that with the first group, starting from this inni zanant. So I knew that what is it? Anni mulaqin hisabi. So I knew that I would be take account,
Held accountable.
held accountable, right?
Accountable.
Accountable, yes. I already knew that that would happen, they say. And on the other hand, what is being said, it's that, so I wish, the book was not given, and I wish I didn't realize, lam adri ma hisabi, yeah. I wish I didn't realize that was a accounting. So this is almost the first time they realize that they will be held accountable. It's not that, there are two people, some of them being all the good deeds, and it is shown to them and they like it. On the other hand, the people doing bad deeds, and they have to face with it. But maybe the main difference is one group of people, they knew they would be held accountable, and the others they didn't, or they didn't accept it at least, right? They didn't realize it.
So what do you think? Does a human not realize that they will held accountable though? Like realization is.
It's like it depends on how it translates this adri.
Okay.
Like a drug in the same way. So, like not conscious of it maybe, or not,
So the reason I'm a little reluctant in there is because if I was not made aware of it before, then it's going to be a surprise to me. And you didn't tell me about this before. Why are you holding me?
I see. Yeah. This is exactly. Yeah. This is not what I mean. Of course. Maybe we should put it this way: living your life as if you will not be, held accountable.
Yeah, I covered it up so far.
Yes.
Pretending as
it was not in my idrak.
Okay.
So, even today, if you ask people about this accounting and so on and so forth, they will say, what accounting you're talking about, right? Deep inside, yes, they are warned, they are aware, and so on and so forth. There are all the signs, but they are not, I don't know how to translate it. So the reason I'm saying this, because it boils down what you bring with you, right? It's not that, whether you acted nicely or not in the world, but rather what you were able to bring with you. On one side, you say, I brought with me the creator of the universe, creator of everything. I am his artwork, and so on and so forth. And this is my reality, and this is the conviction I bring. And it's heavy on the scale. On the other hand, because they live as if there won't be any judgment or anything, what they bring is my job, how it ends, my wealth, my power. This is what I brought with me. And they look at the scale and they realize that it's so heavy, it's so light. It doesn't mean anything. Because they were not understanding this day of reckoning.
So in this case, I used to think that my job, my career, or my family that I raised and whatnot is as solid, as heavy as a mountain. But when I come to the scale, it feels like it's just wool.
Because you deny the real scale. In the worldly scale, it seems like heavy.
Important.
Yes. But the real scale that you deny is now you face with it. You face with the reality and say that, nothing was heavy.
So then in this case, we can, halaki an sultaniya can also be understood in the light of human getting dispersed like moth. Like I had some authority, because Sultan is authority. Like I have some authority over people in this life, I think. But then I realized that my authority over anybody doesn't make anything in the scale. Or everybody likes me. But everybody likes me disappears when it comes to that scale. So it doesn't make any difference. It's my responsibility towards my creator. When it comes to that, everybody disperses. And interestingly, I mean, life is figurative in this sense as well. All the beloved ones of yours, they will put you into the grave. After burying you, they will get dispersed as well. Like the most beloved of you, they carry you in the shoulders to the grave and they get dispersed right there. Hele ki anne sultaniye. So all my authority didn't help me, it didn't carry beyond this point. And many things as such, because death is an ultimate wake-up call. But every day I am dying and all my authority is getting dispersed. So this, in this sense, is a beautiful reminder. So Rishat al-Radhiya in this sense is, then if I am living the life at the moment in which I am content, and I can check myself and see my discontentment. Am I content at the moment, irrespective of how the life is going? Or I am discontent with whatever state I am in. Like I might be upset with people, but am I really content? Look, they blocked, like I made certain applications and for whatever reason, they didn't make my application go through. Personal things. So, and when I think about it, I say, Alhamdulillah and whatnot. But then the moment comes and I say, what this guy? And I crunch my teeth. So am I content? It looks like I am still living in two feelings in my life. When somehow I'm trying to convince myself that I am content with my Lord, yet as if it still feels like the guy still did something, but he still did something. So this contentment maybe is indicative of me still making some choices wrong in my life, that I still see it as not making me live in this paradise, as Surah Al-Haqqa mentioned, but rather this some sort of discontentment is there, which should also indicate, rolling it back, still I am feeling like humans are not like moth, but they are like humans, they give me some authority, or still I feel like mountains are solid things in my life. Still I give value to them. This is why when the guy mistreated me, I am being angry with the guy saying that, okay, yes, God, you did it, but also he did it. Like this, you did, but also he did portion is still bothering me. As for those whose scale is light, this is a very interesting verbiage. We are running a little bit of time, but I would like to finish with the following two verses and conclude it today, inshallah. So, literally means their mother is like a, what do they say? Cliff, an endless cliff, and you keep falling. This is why they translate it as bottomless pit. So Hawiya is a bottomless pit, but فَأُمُّهُ, like his mother is. This is a figurative speech. They were, like the translations were mentioning three different potential meanings for that. One of them, they said, mother is someone that you seek refuge in. But for such people, the only thing that they will seek refuge in is a bottomless pit of fire. Like as if they would like to, like when something bad happens, you would like to jump into your mom's hug and seek refuge in there. The only refuge that they will find in is a bottomless pit of fire, as will come with the next verse.
That maybe previous Al-Haqqa, only like I wish I was death.
Death was it, and it was end.
Yeah, like a bottomless pit.
Yeah, I would be falling and falling and never hitting the bottom. That's right. So another one is فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ. So they say in Arabic language, there's this phrase of like, let her mother fall, as a phrase, meaning when the mother is going to feel sorrow, she will just fall to her knees and start crying. So they say this is sort of a, I mean, not necessarily a curse, but a bad word said to somebody, not literally like making dua, but for them, let that person be in so much of a bad situation that his mother is going to be super upset. So his mother will fall to knees in sorrow. And then the third meaning that they mentioned is he will fall to bottomless pit upside down upon his head. So they say the of a human being is their head. So like his head is up on the bottomless tip. So they're going upside down in this pit. So these are different potential. Yeah. So they mentioned these as the potential meanings, but in our lives, what is it? Like bottomless pits. You keep falling and falling and falling. So for those whose scale is light, it's like a bottomless pit. And then I would like to also add this. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا هِيَ is explaining further what is this bottomless pit or هاوية. What is هاوية? وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا هِيَ نَارٌ حَامِيَةٌ. So what will explain it to you? وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا this pit, how would you know? Narun Hamia. So it is a bottomless pit with a raging fire. So now let's wrap it up and ask the question, what sort of a pit is this? A bottomless pit with raging fire. And if my scale is light, this is where I am falling to in this life. What does this signify? Or have you felt anything like this? Bottomless pit that you keep falling and falling and it's burning. Yeah.
That's like, when you're in, I guess, in a lot of pain and you don't see an exit.
And every day is even making it like, I wasted so much. It's just increasing your regret every moment. Like you lived a life and tomorrow is not going to be better than today. And I wasted so much. It's just adding on top of my regrets. I mean, I don't know how that person feels, but I was passing by a homeless person and the person is sitting in the same place every day. And apparently he's just eating food or looking for food to save the day. I was thinking, what does this person expect in life? Like, what does it like to be? I mean, maybe he has some purpose in life. I don't know. But as an outside observer, since he's sitting at the same spot every day and just asking for somebody to give him some food or something. Like a few days ago, that's what I was asking. What does this person expect in life? Living one more day would bring what to that person? But of course, I can now ask the same question to myself because
when you were giving this example, I was thinking what my life every day on the same spot, same computer.
Somebody passing by me and saying that, oh, Yusuf is waiting for his paycheck at the end of the month. What is he expecting in this life? Zareen, you were going to make a comment or no?
Yeah.
So it's a bottomless pit, a life which, because I didn't want to see that I'm going to be held accountable. And now that I am waking up from this dream, saying that I wasted a life and I messed up many things, and now I'm being held accountable for that. So it is such a day in which I will realize that I keep falling and falling. So, any concluding remarks that you would like to make? What is the overall message of the surah? So next time when you read this surah in the prayer, what would it tell you? Al-Qariah, it's going to talk about this strike, this voice, this knock.
I
Yeah.
guess to not let it get to the point where you know you wake up and you regret it, you know, to remind ourselves to live life knowing that we're gonna be held accountable and to do that counting today, like look at your scales today.
And we are given this scale so that it's a reminder of me that I'm going to be held eventually accountable. This is why I am given this scale here and now. So I should remember that this knock is going to happen and actually is happening every day. Every white hair that starts showing up or every sunset that's happening is, if you like, the footsteps, the sounds of footstep of this knock. It's coming and I am going to be held accountable for what did I do? Or whatever I did, whatever I buried today. Right now we are burying the day. Many things we did in the day. Did I do them the way I am supposed to do them? Or I buried them in ignorance as well. So many things are happening and I just don't pay attention to them. Would this be an acceptable answer, for example? Sometimes I cover them up, but most of the time I am being ignorant of things. Would this be acceptable of an excuse saying that, oh, I didn't pay attention to? Maybe sometimes I'm not like with a, what is it, like as a staunch disbeliever going against him. I'm sometimes just covering up over things with ignorance. Am I not going to hold accountable for my ignorance either? Many feelings are given to me. How do I treat those feelings? Like Atik is making a joke, and Atik's joke is arising some feeling in me. Either I say, oh, it's funny, or I say, oh, it's annoying. Most of the time, annoying, right? So what do I do with this feeling? Do I just get away with it? Or it's Atik, yeah, of course, they are annoying, yeah. Or am I going to be held accountable for this message itself? What was I supposed to understand from this interaction between me and Atik? I'm going to be held accountable for that. This feeling of annoyance is given to me for what? What am I supposed to understand from this feeling of annoyance? Do I, quote unquote, or within parentheses, annoy my creator? Can I also understand that? Because it looks like he gave me this feeling to say that, see, you didn't like this. I didn't make you like this. How about what you do in this life? You freely do things, but are they the proper things? You think like, oh, Atik is without thinking really behaving like this or that, or I mean, he generally does this with knowingly. But how about myself? So may Allah make us be aware and live with this scale. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.